welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live, yes, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Well, I went on vacation to Mexico, and I came back on Wednesday, and yeah. Y'all, I had to take some time off this summer. We didn't have any elections this year, so I took the opportunity to regroup and kind of center myself and then be ready for the 2026 midterm elections, because I tell you what, we're going to need everybody engaged in this one. We're going to need everybody that believes in democracy to be engaged with this one. Everybody that believes that your vote matters. Even if you don't think your vote matters, hopefully by the time May comes around, we've spoken to you enough here on Turn Left to give you the information you need to understand the importance and the power of your civic engagement. We've been doing this show. This is the beginning of the 9th season of Turn Left, and I am so incredibly grateful for all the people who have been rocking with me all this time. I mean, my goodness, it is such a joy. And we're working on some great things, right? Here at Black Pearl Studios, we're working on some other things. I'm excited about a new project that will be coming down the pike soon. But guys, there's a lot going on. And you know me, I always focus in on what is happening right here from border to border, lake to river in Indiana, in the 92 counties that impact us the most. So I always got to rant. So let's rant, baby. All right. The Indiana Capital Chronicle reports child care providers around Indiana will see reimbursement rate cuts of 10 to 35% as the state's Family and Social Services Administration tries to close a $225 million funding gap. The sustainable maneuver could push providers to drop out of low-income child care, and that, my friends, would be devastating. We made this decision to protect the children and families that depend on Child Care Development Funds, or CCDF, vouchers. There is only one pot of money. We could either protect providers or kids, and we chose kids, said Adam Alson, the director of the Office of Early Childhood and Out-of-School Learning. CCDF is a federal program that provides financial assistance via subsidies or vouchers to low-income families to help them pay for child care so parents can work or attend education and training programs. Representative Carrie Hamilton of Indianapolis decries the cuts Thursday morning. While Governor Mike Braun and the Republican supermajority provide private school vouchers to billionaires, they have now put working Hoosier families in the impossible situation of deciding whether to have a job or stay at home and take care of their kids. I reject the Braun administration's claim that they had to do this. They did not. There was no requirement to blow a $200 million hole in our biannual budget this year by opening up private school vouchers to the wealthy. This amount would nearly cover the projected deficit of the child care voucher program. But State House Republicans chose to prioritize the wealthy over working families. Well, again, the Republican Party here in the state of Indiana swear they care about families, swear they care about life, swear they care about kids. But we already know that Indiana has some of the highest child care costs in the entire nation. And now you're asking providers to provide the same level of service with less money. We already know child care providers aren't able to pay their staff some of the wages that are necessary to have sustainable life. Now they're going to cut it from 10 to 35%. Guys, this does not say family first. Not when, as Representative Carrie Hamilton articulated, you didn't have a problem taking $200 million and giving that money to wealthy families who were never going to send their children to public schools anyway. You just gave them a $7,000 coupon to send their kids to private school. Listen, I've been screaming this message for a long time. It ain't changed. They keep doing the same thing over and over again. And for some reason, people keep voting for them. People keep voting for the people that are harming you. Y'all, and look, CCDF is not an inner city issue. It's not a, white and black issue. It is an issue that concerns anyone who has a lower income and need assistance with childcare so they can go to work or go to school to improve their lives. This does not help people improve their lives. Thank you, Republicans, for making it harder for working class and lower income individuals. And I don't know if you guys know it, but I truly, truly, truly love the Indianapolis Capital Chronicle. They're one of my favorite publications. So the Indianapolis Capital Chronicle reports a program that aims to bring more minority and women-owned businesses into the state's procurement system is facing possible elimination. Governor Mike Braun's administration sought an advisory opinion August 26 from the Attorney General's office on the legality of the Governor's Commission on Supplier Diversity and the continued implementation of the Minority and Women's Own Business Enterprise Program. This is the MBE, WBE, MVBE, or VBE programs. These programs, okay, all right. The move comes after the state abruptly canceled its 2025 business conference and B2B Bloom Expo, the 17th annual gathering hosted by the Indiana Department of Administration, Division of Supplier Diversity, showcased opportunities for underrepresented companies to contract with state government. The agency declined to share why the October conference was canceled, only saying further details will be shared when they become available. The commission identifies minority, veteran, and women-owned businesses, initiates programs to assist them with obtaining state contracts, and includes them on solicitation mailing lists. The division sets participation goals. For instance, the most recent goal was that for minority-owned businesses to average 8% across construction, goods and services, and professional services contracts, and women receiving 10% of the contracts. Veteran-owned businesses also had a part of the program but are not part of the legal review. The group also tracks disparity between the participation of these groups in the state procurement process. So, this is just a continuation of Braun's desire to end any DEI programs or any programs that look to level the playing field. I know a lot of you non-minority, non-white or non-women-owned businesses will think, why are we setting these criteria based on demographics? Because y'all wouldn't hire us. Y'all wouldn't contract with us. You wouldn't subcontract with us until we made you do it. Literally, you guys are like locking minority and women-owned businesses out of the procurement process. So we had to make you do it. The government said, look, y'all, dang, if you're not going to do it on your own, we just got to make you do it. There wouldn't have been a need for this program if you would just give people an opportunity to be in the room. And once given those opportunities, you see these businesses excel, but y'all don't even want to talk to them. Now, with Governor Braun's anti-DEI and Attorney General Tyra Keita looking to end any conversation about diversity and understanding the disparities between demographics, ongoing assault, you best believe you will see a decrease in women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses and veteran-owned businesses getting an opportunity to be a part of the state procurement process, meaning there will be less that will be earning contracts and getting these same opportunities that other organizations or white male-owned organizations are getting. That's all this is. Listen, so how can you talk about, we literally had this conversation, how can you talk about what's great for, right, what's great for communities when you don't even want to talk to them? You can't tell me that you're trying to improve minority participation and you literally cut the program that increases minority participation. Y'all full of mess. And that's real talk. That y'all full of mess. And guys, if we don't show up to the polls, say you have a dump truck business and you want some of those construction contracts or some of those contracts on road construction, you won't get it. Not unless they're made to give it to you. But we can change that if we vote properly. You have to get out and vote. You have to get out and vote. I know a lot of you guys think, well, my vote doesn't count and the Democratic Party didn't talk to me and all this other stuff. But there are so many things that are going to happen because of the state administration that we have that are going to be incredibly harmful to the citizens of Indiana. I ain't got to talk about that craziness from the Orange Menace. I'm talking about what's happening right here in the state of Indiana, where you live. Y'all, we got to get engaged now, right? All right. Wish TV reports Senate Republicans on Wednesday would not answer if they individually or collectively favor redrawing Indiana's congressional maps. Senate Republicans met for more than 2 hours behind closed doors at the State House early Wednesday afternoon. Such private meetings, called caucus meetings, are routine for both parties when the legislature is in session, but rare outside of session. Senators on their way to the meeting refused to answer where they stood on changing the maps or where they believed the caucus was as a whole. Senator Fatty Cador of Indianapolis told News 8 Senate Republicans would not have met if they weren't seriously considering calling a special session. They did not meet to decide on a special session to deal with data centers that are consuming utilities across the state of Indiana, he said, but they are seriously contemplating, they are meeting today to make a decision on gerrymandering Indiana to steal 2 congressional seats. And to me, that is serious. It is concerning. It is anti-democratic. The meeting comes more than a month after Vice President J.D. Vance visits the State House to lobby for new, more healthy Republican congressional maps, blah, blah, blah. Voter rights groups are escalating the pressure on the state lawmakers to leave the maps as they are. The census was done in 2020. The maps were drawn in 2021. And Senator Hundley said she remembers attending those meetings when they had public hearings in 2021 as a private citizen. And then Hundley was elected in 2022. I would not call this redistricting. I think that redistricting is a legitimate process that takes place once every 10 years after the census. This process is not going to include any of that. This is straight rigging. So, I mean, y'all. So check this out. There's 9 seats, right? And they have 7 of the 9. We have 2. In a state that is 60-40, 55-45. I mean, lately, all I've been hearing is, oh my God, freedom of speech. Oh my God, representation. Oh my God, oh my God. But you're literally saying to 40 to 45% of Hoosiers, they don't deserve representation in Congress. And they're talking about, now I've seen some maps and everybody keeps talking about this map, that map. They're talking about dividing Marion County up into 3. Right now it's divided in 2, but they're talking about dividing in 3. And let me tell you how powerful Marion County is. They've moved Congressman Carson to the north. They've moved Congressman Carson's District 7 to the south, and he still wins. He still wins. Marion County is that county where, doggone it, we are blue. We're voting blue because we believe in democracy. We believe everybody should have a chance. We believe in all that. But they want to divide it up in 3s. I have a feeling that if they divide it up into 3s, we could actually pick up a seat because it's all about voter turnout. See, don't sleep on Marion County, y'all. Don't sleep on us. Don't sleep on us. But you know what? The fact that most Americans, most citizens, most Hoosiers do not want you to do this. Think about all the money it's going to take to do this. Redraw maps, and then get the maps out. And then if you're thinking about running for office, where your district is, oh, by the way, we're going to do it in such a way that we're definitely going to carve some people up in ways that it's just not democratic. Stacking and packing, baby. Stacking and packing. But this is Republicans. This is what they do, right? Because they can't actually campaign on their policies. The policies are crap, right? Obviously, that big ugly bill that's cutting SNAP benefits, that's cutting Pell Grants, that's cutting Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, they can't run on that to give tax cuts to wealthy people. No. Can't run on that. We're just going to rig the system. We're going to cheat. And tip of the hat to Gavin Newsom. Tip of the hat to Pritzker over in Illinois. Fight fire with fire. These folks ain't playing fair, so why should we? It's time to get busy, y'all. It's time to take back our democracy and stand 10 toes down in what we believe in. It's time for us not to be scared. And listen, I know a lot of y'all send me messages about this type of Democrat should lead the party or that type of Democrat should lead the party. At this point, I need every Democrat to get down with this. We can have different issues or different viewpoints on various areas, but there are several things that we pretty much all agree on. I bet 75 to 80% of the things that we Democrats propose, you will agree on, because Democrats are actually writing policies that improve lives. That's what we do. We write policies that improve lives. They write policies that hurt lives. You notice how I didn't talk about any individual. You notice how I didn't single out one Republican. I am talking about the policies that the members of that party continue to inflict on the citizens of Indiana and how they're detrimental and harmful. And I ain't even got into the 20 proposed data centers around the state. There's already 4 that's been approved that are going to be drinking water and using electricity. Well, can I ask you something? What are the humans supposed to drink if the data centers? 20. Remember we had a bunch of coal ash pits that were poisoning us? Now we got these data centers. Guys, if that don't, I'm fired up. So for the next 18 months, this is going to be me. This is going to be me talking about what's happening in the state of Indiana and how these policies are harmful to us. Y'all, that's my rant.
Democrats, are you looking for an affordable digital content creation solution? Then look no further than Black Pearl IT Solutions and Black Pearl Studios. Indiana's own Dana Black is providing many of the communication wraparound services any Democratic organization needs. No matter the size of the budget, Indiana's own and Black Pearl Studios have you covered. Just scan the QR code or visit www.blackpearl-its.com.
All right, good people. Listen, as we kick off the 2026 election cycle, I've heard from a lot of you about how do I get involved? How do I get engaged? Some of you are party people and some of you are not. I don't think you have to be a party person to be civically engaged. I believe that there are multiple ways for you to get engaged. I believe that if you truly want to protect democracy, protect children, protect the environment, protect education, protect healthcare, you can do that in multiple ways. And so for the first show of the season, I have opted to talk to a nonpartisan. See, I can't even say it. I'm so partisan, but I'm going to be nonpartisan today. That is why when I do my rant so that we can protect their nonprofit status. Although the federal government is trying to make it so that C3s can endorse candidates. So, hey, you never know. But I want to introduce you guys because I often get a lot of folks hit me up on social media or send me a message saying, hey, can I come on the show? And a lot of times they want to come on the show and they're not offering up anything. I ain't gonna lie. Like, some people just want to come on and just talk. And time is limited. And so I have to maximize the space for things that are going to really matter. So when Sadie Holzmeyer hit me up and said, hey, Dana, I'm working with this group called Digital Democracy Project. I would love to share with your listeners about what this project is. I went to the website. I was like, oh, yeah, let's talk about it. Y'all, can I just say, Sadie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so happy to be here and happy to share with your listeners about us.
Okay, before we get started on the organization, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Yeah, so Sadie Holzmeyer, I have been born, raised in Indiana, and I went to college in Indiana. I went to the USI, University of Southern Indiana. That's where I met you, came to speak to one of our classes. And after I got a degree in psychology, after I graduated, I got involved, got interested in politics in about my last semester. Learned about climate change was kind of the issue that got me involved. And I got engaged in like Sierra Club and Our Revolution, Sunrise Movement, different organizations like that, and then did some community COVID relief work during the pandemic as well. So yeah, I've been in Indiana most of my life and then just moved away to help out with this nonprofit. And now I'm happy to help bring it back to Indiana.
You know, before we start talking about DDP, and I know y'all probably don't do that, but it's kind of cool to go DDP. See, I'm an old hip hop fan, so BBD was a thing. Anyway, so you mentioned the Sierra Club as something that you did as a part of your maturation and your growth. I remember when I became engaged with the Sierra Project, going to their meetings and just listening, I was blown away by the amount of information that they were sharing about climate change and the environment, things that I, to be totally honest, I had no idea about. What was your experience getting engaged with Sierra Club, and how did it shape you?
Yeah, Sierra Club, and I should mention too, CCL, Citizens Climate Lobby, was another one. And yeah, I was not aware of the whole issue of climate change until my last year of college before I graduated. So I was learning kind of as I was getting involved. And I know, I mean, I'd watched a lot of documentaries to kind of understand the issues, and Sierra Club was doing a lot more like localized work around, I know, yeah, we had a lot of coal plants at the time and kind of talking about transitioning to renewable energy. And yeah, Citizens Climate Lobby, one of the bills we had carried with Digital Democracy Project was the Energy Innovation Act. So that was another bill that they kind of more so on the policy side were proposing as a solution to kind of addressing the climate crisis right now.
Yeah, I know I mentioned that Indiana they've got 20 proposed data centers. Now, again, look, I'm a whole IT chick. I am not at all against technology. But when you have technology that consumes resources at the rate that these data centers are, should we be concerned?
Yeah, I'm not the expert on the data centers, but I think every type of big development needs to come with the environmental regulations and protections along with it. And it does seem like things in that area are developing pretty quickly. And I mean, I think there's been a little bit of a deregulation type of movement. So yeah, it seems concerning, but yeah, I think all the environmental protections, that stuff all needs to be taken into consideration before we're just building these everywhere, far and wide.
Yeah. And I also think with companies like Google, Amazon, and Apple that have made so many billions of dollars, they should do like the Chinese and figure out how to put them things in the water, right? Because they have data centers in the water. Anyway, so I had to ask that question because you're with the Digital Democracy Project. You hear digital, that means there's data somewhere. So talk about what the Digital Democracy Project is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so overall, our whole mission, we're all about shifting more power into the hands of voters, and we're building a voter-driven system of government. So it's a free civic engagement platform that anyone can use where we post real bills and voters get a chance to weigh in on the same bills as their legislators. So just as your legislators are voting on bills, voters get a chance to vote, say if they support or oppose. And then on our website is where we have our tally maps, and those will continuously update with the real-time vote results. So you can, over time, as more voters are weighing in, you can see how many voters support and oppose. And we do this ahead of time. So voters weigh in first, legislators have that information for what their constituents want to help inform their voting before they have to vote on that same bill on the floor. And then the whole other aspect of it, because the first thing we always hear is, well, no one wants to listen. So we tie how the voters, how they voted on the bill, what they wanted, and then how each legislator ended up voting. And we do a side-by-side comparison. So voters have the information to not only see how their legislators are voting, but see how often it matched up with what the voters wanted. So then voters can hold them accountable at election time.
Oh, this is like okay, so like I said, when you shared with me about this program, this project, like I said, first thing I did was I go look it up and I'm like, holy moly, this is amazing. Because one of the things that I implore folks that listen to Turn Left and whenever I go give speeches is there's no way possible you can keep track of every bill that is coming through the State House. And I had always encouraged them to get with your friends and pick a subject or an interest area and divide the bills up and research them. You guys are doing that work for the voter. How did this wonderful project get planted and begin to take root?
Yeah, so I came along after they had already gotten started. They went live in 2023 in Florida, and our founder's a veteran, and he just, when he was in service, he was fighting to kind of help build democracies in other countries and just kind of seeing things. Like January 6th was a big motivator for him. And just like where our politics has kind of been shifting to where there's a lot of money and power that's kind of had more influence than the voters, kind of trying to shift that power influence back to the voters, kind of like the motivation to get started behind it.
I love it. And so, are they just state bills? Are they state and federal bills?
Yeah, so we started state legislation in Florida and then added federal legislation last year. And then as of a few months ago, we opened up to where we launched nationwide to where any US voter can vote on federal bills. So now any voter in Indiana can weigh in on federal bills. And then on the tally map, you can see the breakdown by congressional district too, to see how voters within each district are voting. And long term, we want to build out to where we're carrying state legislation in every state. We have a state chapter that's kind of expanding down on the ground, getting more voters weighing in, and then kind of build out that way. So that'll, depending on where the interest is kind of how we're going to go from there. So if any of your listeners are interested in us carrying state legislation, then yeah, hopefully they'll reach out and we can talk about that too.
I'm going to be reaching out because this is also a C3. Right? It's a nonprofit organization, which means that you have to take donations. So guys, I put their website in the chat. So go ahead and click on the link and donate some funds to the organization so they can build this out. And we need to think about how we can get Indiana's legislation in there, because we talk about holding people accountable, but if you don't know what they're doing, how can you hold them accountable? So when you got started with this project, what were some of the revelations or key pieces of legislation you went, oh, I didn't see that coming?
Yeah, I wasn't very in the loop on Florida politics when I first started, but that was when I know like the permitless carry was one of the bills. in the first session, and the 6-week abortion ban in Florida was one of those one of the first ones that they carried. And I mean, it was like I wasn't even that engaged in politics in the like state level, breaking down the different legislation. So it was a huge eye opener to me just learning about the different policies and issues that are going on that I feel like do not get the attention they need. And yeah, on the topic that you talked about, people getting civically engaged, it is a good way to start kind of getting a know on what's going on. Because yeah, we do at the federal level, especially right now, we're going through and kind of highlighting some of we try to prioritize the bills that look like they're going to advance or come up for a vote so that voters get a chance to weigh in first. But we also highlight major bills that people may be interested in or may bring to our attention that they want us to kind of amplify. So yeah, that's a good way to get started in what's going on and yeah, have a chance to weigh in.
I actually have a question in the chat. A couple questions in the chat. Okay, so one question is, how can we ensure that it doesn't get hacked? I'm certain that there are security measures in place. You guys don't tell us what they are, but just say they are, right?
For sure. Yeah, security is actually one of our top priorities with the project because we want it to accurately reflect what the voters want. We want to build up to where this is influential enough to where it's influencing legislators and where there could be interest in like bad actors trying to skew the results. So security is very important for us. So we actually partnered with it's VOATZ votes. They're used for real voting in actual elections, certified mobile voting technology. So they've already been tested out. They've been doing this. They started for service members overseas is how our founder got connected with them. And so obviously their top priority is security because they're holding real elections. So
Okay.
they have a blockchain built in to kind of help with the security of it, and they do like the identity verification. And like if you have the Touch ID, Face ID, they use the mobile voting app because of the security behind it. So that's how individual voters, the identity verification, they verify you're a registered voter so that we know they're real people. No one's voting multiple times. There aren't bots skewing the results. So we prioritized it that way, used their technology for the security so no one can hack it. So that is like a core aspect of what we're doing that we wanted to prioritize.
I love it. And Mr. McClellan has another question. I wonder how the platform captures voter demographic information. Is that just from the voter registration information?
Yeah, we get that we get asked that. We don't do a lot right now with demographic info. We kind of want to like one vote, one person, all the votes kind of carry the same weight right now. And we do also want to keep party politics out of it. We focus on the issues, the policies, so that voters get a weigh in based on their stances on the issues and try to keep out the Democrat, Republican sides of it, the side by side or one side versus the other aspect of it. And I know like from state to state, the information that's provided varies and it can be kind of complicated from what's available to nonprofits or publicly available. So that's something that we don't really incorporate a lot on. We just want to focus on the issues and yeah, how voters are weighing in. It's also somewhat like a more modern version of contacting your legislator. So but we're adding the transparency to it. So whenever you contact your legislator, they kind of aren't obligated to make it public of how many people have contacted them, how many on one side of an issue or the other. So by adding that transparency of knowing what all the voters want, how many support and oppose, puts more pressure on them that way. So that's kind of more so of where we've been going from how we've been moving forward with that.
I actually like that concept because now you're not, oh, well, of course they would think this way because, and then they get ignored simply because they have a D or a R behind their voter registration. So I think that actually is a unique way of capturing. What are some of the results have there been any results that actually impacted or affected legislation that we've seen from this process yet?
Yeah, so we're definitely more in the scaling up phase. So it's been a lot more of a civic engagement to where people are informed about the bills, having a chance to weigh in. And we've been looking to also connect with candidates and legislators. We do have a C4 status too that gives us some flexibility too.
Yeah.
So we've been, yeah, looking to connect with candidates and legislators. And again, if there anyone at the federal level running in Indiana right now, until we carry state legislation, we'd be interested in connecting if this is something that kind of aligns with what they want to do, if they want to use our technology as a way to hear from their voters. But yeah, once we start scaling up is when it'll really have more influence. So trying to spread the word, get more voters weighing in. And I was going to add too, I know you had already brought up the one big beautiful bill, but that's
I
a
can't even call it
example.
that. I can't call it that. Mm-mm.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it's referred to. So I'll be consistent that way. But yeah, so for using that bill as an example, like if we want to get up to where we have tens, hundreds of thousands, millions of voters in all 50 states weighing in and saying what they want before our legislators are voting, and then legislators have that info so they know if they're going to vote against what the voters want. They have that pressure on them when they make that decision if they want to listen to the voters or go against what they want. And then after, as I said, like the accountability, tying that so that those same voters that are informed and engaged in what's going on have that information at election time to know if they are representing what they want or if they are listening. So that's kind of where they have a lot more power that way too.
I think that is fantastic because right now there are a lot of voters who are showing up at town halls and they're expressing their displeasure about policies that are being enacted, and legislators are literally dismissing them as outside agitators. So
Hmm.
when you have the numbers and you have the data, what can you say other than is rigged? That's because they. I'm sorry, you can't say that. You can't say that it's rigged. You're literally getting that information. Um, do you also offer? So you have the legislation. You see it. You get the breakdown of the legislation. I take it right, and
Hmm.
how it impacts communities. Do you offer language to potential voters on how maybe they can address this with their legislators, or is that something not built out yet?
So, what we do offer right now, we provide like a neutral, nonpartisan summary just focused on the content of the bill, on what it addresses objectively. And then we have a link to a feature we partnered with called Kialo. So that's where we provide some pros and cons, and individuals can add in their own pros and cons for other voters to see. And it all gets moderated. And then we also provide a link to the full bill text. If you want to read more details, we have a link to Open States Plural where you can see the status of the bill, if it's passed the House, passed the Senate, become law, and you can go through and see like the dates, the action, the history of it, the vote results. And then we also more recently added a feature where you can see there's impact statements. You can see like what a yes vote means, what a no vote, why
Ooh.
organizations support, why they oppose. And then you can see different organizations that have publicly taken a stance on a bill, which organizations oppose, which ones support. And then another feature that we had just built out, our founder created, right now it's called VoteBot. So you can ask questions. It'll kind of
Ooh.
like search for responses if you have questions about the bill, provide you a response to kind of, we got a lot of feedback about voters wanting more info about if they support or oppose a bill to help them decide how they want to vote. So those are all the information we provide along with the bill, and then from that, we hope that voters will feel like if they want to contact their legislators directly, that they'll have that information. But I think that is definitely a feature we've already talked about adding in that we would like to over time add into where you can like directly contact, email, call your legislator, have that info to communicate that to them that way too.
Oh, I love that. I love the stuff that's coming down because once you build it, adding new features to it just kind of enhances it. I had a question, and then my 55-year-old brain went somewhere. Um,
Well, I was going to add into on your previous comment too. I think the power in numbers effect is kind of what really got me passionate about this, kind of how I got involved. I had a similar idea. So that's kind of the aspect where like the value of our democracy right now is the number of people who vote, whichever way they vote for whichever candidate is what determines the outcome. So that power in numbers is another aspect that I really like. And yeah, just having influence that way, I think is a really important part of it.
and what, I know what my thought was. What I love about what you're bringing to the site, what the site provides. First of all, you're helping to limit the number of low information voters, right? Because then the talking points can be tossed out the window because they can go read it for themselves and they can get both sides of the story. So, both sides, we're notorious for it, where we have talking points, we stick to the talking points, but the talking points might not even be the biggest part or biggest portion of the bill. You are now creating high information voters. I am excited about this, and I'm glad y'all got a C4. I am excited about this. So what kind of reaction have you heard from users yet, and what their reaction has been to this tool?
Yeah, we get a lot of positive feedback. It's more so like a matter of making people aware of it. And then yeah, we get a lot of positive feedback. So I think as I mentioned, the one thing that people always bring up is like, well, no one wants to listen. So that's why we're trying to identify candidates, legislators that do want to use it to hear from their voters, to also incentivize voters that way. And yeah, getting that power numbers effect with more people weighing in. And then also just why we added those features was based on the feedback that we got about people wanting more info or not being sure about how they want to vote. So those are the first two things that come to mind. But yeah, I do think getting the high information voters adding or getting more informed and getting them more engaged, I think will be really helpful. And then another important aspect of it is the accessibility too. Like you had mentioned about them needing to go through, it's difficult to find all the bills. So us kind of trying to make it streamlined in a way, like providing that more easily accessible. And then just the fact that a lot of people are really busy, so it's hard to be able to attend meetings. So you can view all this from the website at your convenience. If you want to vote, you just do it from the mobile app on your phone, and you can do that at your convenience and weigh in. So kind of enabling more people to be able to participate that way too.
I love it. You have a great website, and you're optimized for mobile. Mobile optimization. I should know how to say that is so you can literally look at this stuff anywhere. So if you're in rural district A in Indiana, you can still see what your legislator is doing or your state senator is doing on pieces of legislation.
Yeah, I did want to add, not to interrupt,
No,
on that
I
note
love
too.
it. Bring it. You know what? That's your excitement is contagious. So I'm just gonna be quiet for a minute. I'm gonna be quiet.
No, I wanted to add too, you keep bringing up points that make me think of other things to include too. I have had an interest in kind of connecting with organizations that do a lot of rural organizing for that aspect of it, kind of a tool to help with their organizing work, getting more rural voters engaged. And yeah, there was something else I was going to say now too. I'm getting too many thoughts in my head.
I love it. I love it. That means this is an amazing tool. Well, I need to. If you haven't already connected with Michelle Higgs of the rural, she has a rural project that she's working on. I'll make sure that you guys get connected so you can, because she's a very, very, very forward thinking doer. Right. So when we talk about this, she's already creating these spaces for rural candidates to have as much success as possible from a state house level. But that doesn't mean that we can't. She would not be opposed to talking to you about how this tool could help her galvanize people in rural America. And it takes out. I'm actually glad it doesn't have demographic information. Here's why. Hear me out, y'all. Hear me out. It's sometimes the message can be great, but the messenger gets in the way.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I could be saying the exact same thing as Representative Ed Delaney, but because it's Representative Ed Delaney, it'll get received differently than if I say it because I'm Dana Black, right? And
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about much.
yeah, and vice versa. There are things that I'm going to say in certain places. It's going to have a different impact than if he says it. And so
Mhm.
this will allow you to say, hey, these are just the people and how they feel about it, no matter what their party affiliation is, no matter what their economic status is. This is but hopefully one day that'll be a part of it because well, let me ask you this. Is there a place for folks to like understand? Did you guys break down the economic impact of these bills as well as just like there's one thing to talk about policy, but what is the economic impact on communities?
I think that sometimes gets included. Like I know with the One Big Beautiful Bill, we had talked about like the cuts to Medicaid and SNAP. And I think some of that sometimes comes out in the Kialo, the pros and cons, which is also like we're trying to provide this as a platform too. So people who do have that information they think is valuable that they want to add in, that's where the Kialo, we can get more input from the community to provide context like that too.
Is it like a
So,
wiki?
I guess so. Yeah, I think of it like a discussion board from
Okay.
college where, yeah, you can kind of just add in and then you can respond to other people's pros and cons too.
Yeah, kind of like a Reddit or a Slack, something.
Hmm.
And I assume that the comments are anonymous.
Yeah, they are anonymous. It might have like a username of some sort.
Okay.
And then, yeah, it gets moderated to make sure we're not spewing disinformation or anything
Love that.
ridiculous or anything like that. And I did remember the other thought I wanted to include too. Another part of us scaling up, because you had mentioned about like knowing what different legislators in different districts are doing. We're working on getting more voters across the country, different states weighing in right now on bills. So then we want to have our accountability scorecards for all 435 members of Congress and the 100 US senators in advance of the midterms. So you can go through and see all the legislators at the federal level, see how they voted, how it matched up with how the voters had voted. And then, yeah, once we build out in the state level with our C4s in each state, then that's when we'll have those also for the state legislators as well.
So basically, your scorecard, you're using a scorecard, and your scorecard says, this elected official voted 20% with the people, whereas this one voted 70% with the people.
Yeah, and it is different. Again, like we do try to phrase ourselves as a platform because it's where the voters are the ones evaluating the legislators. They're the ones driving the accountability. So if the voters overall, if the majority say they support this bill and then the legislator votes against it, then that's when they would get a thumbs down. You'll see on the scorecard. So then that proportion of how often they're matching what the voters want is where that score comes from. So yeah, you will see some that do have higher scores that match up more with the voters and some that do have lower scores.
So see, NRA, we coming for you, baby. We coming. You got your NRA scorecard. We coming. And ours is nonpartisan. I know you say NRA is nonpartisan, but anyway. All right. So, gosh, this is so much. So, one, tell the people how they can get involved to help bring. It's already at the federal level, but how can we be ensure that we can bring something like that to Indiana, for you guys to build out in Indiana?
Yeah, definitely appreciate that question. So anyone that's listening, you can go on right now on either our website, digitaldemocracyproject.org, and then /vote is where I should say there's an explainer video on the homepage. You can check that out. And then there's an option to vote, a tab where that'll walk you through how to download. It's the Votes app, VOATZ. So it takes like a minute or two. Once you download the app, create your account, and you get verified, there's a photo ID verification. Once you do that, then they'll add you to where you'll be able to see all the federal bills. And that's the main thing that we want people to be doing right now, is starting to get into the app and weighing in on bills. So that's the base level. And then, I mean, we have an opportunity where we're trying to find different community organizers or like community ambassadors. If you're connected with an organization, I saw that you had spoken to someone with an Indivisible I want to reach out to.
Yeah.
So people like that, if you're with even someone in your community that you're connected with people, if you want to help get them on board, engaged with how to use the Votes app. If you're with an organization, we do a lot of presentations to different groups to kind of connect their members with this tool. So that's kind of where we're building out. And then, yeah, what we'll need as far as which states we expand to, which ones we go to first, the main thing that we'll have to look for is someone who can help us with tracking the legislation. So as you can imagine, with 50 different states, legislative sessions are all kinds of different times and different bills. So we've had a legislative director in Florida who's been helping with the federal bills, and he's crucial to what we're doing. So we need someone or an organization like that that's kind of keeping track of which bills are being debated, which ones are introduced, which ones are moving forward, to relay to us which ones to put into the app for voters to vote on in that state. So that's a huge aspect of it. And then, yeah, you had already appreciate mentioning the funding. There's a lot of cost behind the technology aspect of it. So yeah, as long as we are just continuous source of funding, keeping that going, that's always helpful to kind of help us as we expand too, because our costs will go up. The more we expand, the more users we get weighing in. So those are probably the two main aspects for whenever we expand state to state too. And I should say too, we do want to be, sorry.
No, do not apologize. Do not apologize. This is great information.
We do want to be in carrying state legislation in 2 states before 2026. So we're trying to keep it moving. So yeah, if we're able to make those connections to kind of help facilitate that process, it can be a pretty quick, I guess, steps of adding more states in.
I love it. I love it. This is so. See, why I'm excited about this is because there are multiple ways to be civically engaged. There's not one way to get involved. You literally, from your home in your spare time, can shape how legislators vote on bills before they come down the pike, right? So yes, it's one thing to vote for a congressional candidate or a United States Senate candidate. It is another thing that once they're elected, you can work to influence how they vote. Now, why is this important? See, this is why I found this to be incredibly important. A lot of people feel like, and they are not wrong, that money dictates what the elected officials do. Money and lobbyists and the people that can throw millions of dollars at a bill can get what they want, that only do something for 10% of our country while harming 90%.
Mm-hmm.
This allows you to have influence over policy because we don't have millions of dollars like that. The average people, we don't have lobbyists. We don't have, big law firms taking on certain bills, but we can have our voices heard and then call them out. You can literally come and say, see, we said we wanted this and you did it. And so this literally is a platform that is helping to democratize legislation. And
yeah.
I am excited about it. And I am so grateful that you hit me up. I am grateful. It took a little while to get us on because, like I said, I took some time off. But you were very patient, and you were the first guest that I wanted to have on, because as we begin to prepare for the 2026 election, there's going to be legislation that come out of Congress at the beginning of the year that we either will or will not like. And we know that the bill, the big ugly bill, doesn't actually kick in until after the 2026 election. A lot of it doesn't until after the 20. So by the time it's starting to hurt you, it's too late. So now you can start looking at the bills and how they rank and having input, and then allowing that to dictate, hey, how you vote come November. Because there's going to be legislation that come down the pike between now and November.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can give some examples of the legislation if you want.
Yeah, let's do it.
I know in this last set, we post bills about every other week. So there's continuously more coming. There's I think we're up to about 60 now from 2025 alone. So yeah, the One Big Beautiful Bill passed. That was one of them that got a lot of attention. And I know this past week we had one about there's a bill to add Trump to Mount Rushmore. So I know people may think like government is scary, or I mean, a lot of it is written more on like legal terms. So we try to break it down, make it easy, and people have opinions. So it's kind of making it easy for everyone to participate. So that was one of the bills. And there's one about kind of.
Wait a minute. I know you cannot say that to me and then just make me gloss over that. There's just no way. There's no way. So let me get this straight. We're going to cut Medicare, cut Medicaid, make Pell Grants harder, cut Social Security, cut child care, cut food stamps, cut all of the things, but we're going to spend money to carve up Mount Rushmore? We can't even get potholes filled. I know that's state local, but that federal funds come down to take care of state local. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Germany or over in Europe. They have amazing mass transit. We can't even get people to understand the significance of quality public transportation, but they want to carve up Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, lots of interesting stuff that I think does not get the attention it deserves. Because there was one about like if we should create more incentives for people to get married was one of the last sets. And I know the one that gets a lot of attention because it split people on both sides of the parties too, is if the Block the Bombs Act was one that gets a lot of attention, because it's kind of more so if the US should continue supporting Israel based on like how even like the international like human rights violations, if it should be based on that. So that's one of the bills. And I know, and I wanted to mention too, we do like to highlight bills that we could have like different policies that I think are important, people can be aware of. And you had mentioned about like childcare. There was one that we had just carried recently too about shifting funds from like the estate tax to go into helping fund kind of making childcare more affordable. So there's things like that people I think should be aware of, but lots of interesting issues that I think, will really help get people interested, and putting pressure on our legislators and giving voters more say, more power, influence.
This is amazing. Last question I think I have about the app itself. Once you sign up and create an account, do you get alerts when new bills come up? Is that how that works?
Yeah, so our team sends out a text message and an email once we load the new bills. So I don't know that the Votes app does any notifications from them, but we'll send out a text message and email. And once you get in there, then you'll get communication, because we do want it to be like where we're getting a lot of votes before the legislators are voting. So getting that quick response. So they'll be informed once they get in there about when the new bills are loaded. And then you can always go back and vote on all the bills from 2025. So we're just over time gaining more people weighing in.
I love it. This is amazing. Sadie, thank you so much for joining me on Turn Left and sharing with me, with our listeners, about this amazing opportunity for people to know what bills are being introduced at the federal level, can weigh in on those bills before they actually get, as they're getting through committee, as they're getting to the House and the Senate, and vice versa. this will give you an opportunity to know what's going on. The alerts allow you so you're not overwhelmed all at once. You can look at the bill and see if it's something that you want to engage with. I love this. This is amazing. Tell your owner if he ever wants to come and talk to Indiana's own Dana Black at Turn Left, I will make time. I will, even if he can't do it live, I will record because I want to hear the passion that in this person that created this amazing opportunity for people to be civically engaged.
I think you would love that.
Oh my God. Hit me up, man. I'd love it.
Will
All
do.
right. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
I'm going to take you off because I'm going to do another rant before I go. But you are so awesome. And let's keep in touch. Okay.
For sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
Appreciate it. You too.
Wow, y'all. Ooh, that was an amazing tool. You can find out what's going on. You can get updates. You can vote on legislation. You can share with people. The crazy man wants to put his face on Mount Rushmore. Please don't let that happen. All right. So, I get back home, I'm chilling and I'm relaxing, and I get a text message about an incident yesterday. 3 young people shot in a school. No, that's not the one you thought I was going to talk about. Yeah, but that happened. That didn't get a lot of airtime, a lot of play, because somebody else got shot, and that one person outweighed the 3 young people who, they're still struggling. But in the course of that event yesterday, you starting to hear stuff from all sides, like Gavin Newsom, political violence should not be tolerated. AOC, political violence should not be tolerated. Indiana Democratic Party, political violence should not be tolerated. And on the other side, you hear, we won't be silenced. We won't be this and we won't be that. And it's, the left is a bunch of mobs, and the left is this, and the left, wants to silence us, without actually remembering that Gabby Giffords was shot in the head. Paul Pelosi, who wasn't even an elected official, got his head bashed in with a hammer. And the president of the United States and people on one news network decide to mock Paul Pelosi for being attacked. So political violence is not limited to one side or the other. Political violence is woven in the DNA of America. Didn't Aaron Burr kill Alexander Hamilton in 1809 or something like that? That was political violence. They used to threaten and intimidate women who were marching to be able to vote for the 19th Amendment, to vote. They were targeted, and that was political violence. When the labor movement was working to have living wage and decent hours and time off to spend time with their families, that was political violence. And we have had political assassinations in every aspect of American history. The Trail of Tears and the Indian Removal Act was political violence. Hanging and lynching people for registering to vote in the South. I'm sorry, hanging and lynching Black people for registering to vote in the South was political violence. There were people that actually created organizations called the White Citizens Council and the KKK to be terrorists to keep Black people from voting. That was political violence. And then you've had state-sanctioned political violence when they went after the Black Panther Party. So I want you all to stop pretending like political violence is a one side or another thing. Political violence is literally how this whole thing got started. Political violence with the Tea Party, with the Boston Tea Party, and tossing the tea and starting the fight. That's how this whole thing got started. But see, that's why they don't want you to understand your history. That's why they don't want you to learn about all the things that have been happening through history. Because if you don't know what happened, then when it happens again, you'll be shocked and outraged. Oh my God, I can't believe this actually happened. Political violence has been happening day one. Now, do I condone political violence? Hell no. I talk too much to condone political violence. I literally come on here and speak to the opposition of fascism that is now our federal government, and to Mike Braun, who continues to tell municipalities, you got to do more with less while he builds himself a helipad. I speak out against Micah Beckwith's opinion about who we are as gay people. Now, the difference between me and a lot of folks is I'm not demonizing them. I'm talking about their policies. I don't have to demonize people to get my point across. See, because one thing that I learned, I recognized, I've been a public speaker my whole life, been giving speeches since I was 5, 6 years old. But I didn't learn and know that I had power in my words, and that my words could move people until I was 45 years old, when I was mature enough to understand the impact of language and the impact of words. So I don't attack the person. I attack the policy that they introduced with why the policy is bad. And I highlight policies that are good. Because it's not about the person, it's about the policy. And so, no, I don't want political violence, because this is what I do. I do it because it's so important to share with folks who don't have time to go follow politics in the same way that I do. So no. But stop acting as if political violence is new. There are people now still in the Tallahatchie River in Mississippi who were victims of political violence. And I understand that you want to, I've heard him say that, he was a great husband and a great father. So was Martin Luther King. So was Malcolm X. So was Medgar Evers. Political violence. It's America, y'all. Now that you know what it is, what are you going to do to end it? What are you going to do to stop it? Or how are you going to navigate around it? Because it's going to keep happening. It'd be foolish to tell yourself that it's not going to keep happening. It'd be foolish to have this pie in the sky notion that political violence is not going to happen ever again. Not when there are actually more guns in this country than humans. Political violence, it's a part of who we are. That's why I tell people all the time, being in politics is not for the faint of heart. But there are still ways for you to be civically engaged. You don't have to be out front. Allow people like me who don't mind taking the arrows, the slingshots, to do the things that you may not be able to do. You might have children that you're trying to raise. I don't. My parents are gone. Yes, I have people that love me, and I imagine they would miss me if something happened to me. But I'm in a position that I can be out front and talk about bad policies. That is the privilege that I possess. But I am not foolish enough to believe that me being me, saying the things that I say the way I say it, would not incite political violence. In fact, I anticipate it. I do. I'm actually surprised it hasn't happened. Because that's the reality I live in. And for all those saying that, Democrats are evil and Republicans are evil, honey, they're just humans that are evil. They just are. And as long as you give them easy access to a weapon that can wipe people out from 200 yards away, that's what you're going to get. If you have rhetoric that stokes violence, people are going to hear it. They're going to act on it. If you don't have the ability to show compassion and sympathy for school shootings, people will follow suit. Your words have power. That's why I start every Turn Left show with I lead with love. So as we move forward, I know a lot of y'all are in your feelings one way or the other. And as Hope Giselle, if you guys are not following Hope Giselle, she's an amazing commentator and just speaks truth to power. I am not going to tell you how to mourn. I'm not going to tell you how to grieve. I'm not going to tell you how to celebrate. Do what you do. Because I know what the words he said, the harm that it caused to people. I also know that some of you are saying God says forgive. I'm going to let you work that out. I will offer space for it. But what I don't want you to do is act like this is new. America was founded on political violence. Manifest Destiny was about political violence. Brown v. Board of Ed. Didn't we just celebrate Ruby Bridges' birthday? This was a little child trying to go to school, and she was subjected to political violence. I wish it were different, but it's not. All right, y'all. Listen, I am so excited to be back. I won't be on a show next week, but on the 25th, mark your calendar, IDAC Indy is back. I'm going to have me and two more of the board members. We're going to talk about what our plans are for IDAC Indy. Listen, we got work to do, and I'm here for it. I got my armor, my shield. I'm ready to go. They will not scare me. They will not intimidate me from being involved in this democracy, because I am an American citizen and I have every right to be involved, and so do you. All right? And there's multiple ways for you to do that. All right, Indiana's own Dana Black, Turn Left. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll holler at you next time. Peace.
Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions. Executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by www.bensound.com.